In Panama, union leaders announced the continuation of the strike and mobilization on national level as a response to the austerity measures announced by President Laurentino Cortizo. In Turkey, the Russian delegation presented a package of proposals for exports of Ukrainian grain across the Black Sea. Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Ramil Wickremesinghe is appointed interim president following the escape of Gotabaya Rajapaksa from the country. The appointment comes amid police crackdown on thousands of protesters. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Panama, union leaders rejected 10 products included in the price control and announced the continuation of the strike. The strike, which covers several provinces of the Central American nations, such as the capital, Santiago de Verrugas, Chiriquí, and Colón, among others, is against the high prices of fuels and the basic family basket, and against what they qualify as poor management of the cabinet led by President Laurentino Cortizo. Demonstrators demand from the government concrete answers to 32 demands presented in the context of the tense social situation and inflation. The leader of the construction union, Saul Mendez, points out that the accumulated problems are the result of a neoliberal model imposed by the economic elites.
You can be guaranteed and certain that the people will not surrender, and they will not give up because they are fed up with the robbery, corruption, and the high cost of living. People are tired of being humiliated, drowned in misery to benefit the interests that you protect through the security forces, the economic power, and those who govern who are your puppets. The construction workers stand strong, united, and disciplined. Tomorrow there is a strike and we're going to execute it, and we are going to mobilize in the streets on the whole country. To all the people of Panama, stand united. Do not be intimidated and defend your right to a dignified life. That is the demand, a dignified life for all.
During the last day, union organizations mobilized to the National Assembly to demand a reduction in the price of fuel and the cost of living. Workers call for an indefinite work stoppage until their demands are met. In Ecuador, government authorities and indigenous organizations that call for the recent national strike plan to set up extended dialogue tables on Wednesday. According to local media, the 10 points demands by protesters who will be addressed at these dialogue tables supervised by the national government and ministers responsible for each table. In this sense, leaders, delegates, technical teams, specialists, and representatives of the indigenous movements are expected to coordinate actions, strategies, and plans to be followed in order to fulfill the demands of each roundtable. It was also ratified that 10 points discussed at the roundtable must be implemented in the country within a period of no more than 90 days. The Prime Minister of Belize, Juan Antonio Briceño, stated that CARICOM asked the United States to ease the oil sanctions against Venezuela.
The good news is that we've been talking to CARICOM to Venezuela and to the United States about asking the United States to ease up some of its restrictions with Venezuela, and that we may have an opportunity to get the Petrocaribe program going once again. Maybe it might not be as generous as it was before, but we're still looking at maybe like paying 70 cents on the dollar or something like that. But that by itself is going to be a big help should we be able to convince the Americans to ease up on the restrictions that they have against Venezuela.
In Brazil, former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva denounced increase in acts of political violence in the midst of the electoral pre-campaign in the country. Lula da Silva went to the country's capital, where he held meetings with several businessmen in addition to important events with several social organizations. During the event, the former president condemned the murder of a leader of the Workers' Party at the hands of the supporters of Bolsonaro's party in Todo Iguaçu. Activists denounced President Jair Bolsonaro's discourse has contributed to an increase in political violence in the country and asked his followers not to fall into provocation.
We don't have to accept provocation. If someone provokes you, tell him to bite his own tail and do not fight. Let's go home and take care of the family. This is the moral lesson that we have to give.
Wildfires continues to ravage Portugal and Spain on Tuesday in a heat wave that meteorologists warned could last at least through the weekend. Meteorologists said that an overheating air mass and warm African winds are raising temperatures on the Iberian Peninsula beyond their usual highs. As a result, Portugal and Spain began with battling several foreign fires. In Portugal alone, more than 2,000 firefighters were deployed to fight places that have forced the evacuation of thousands of people from their homes. Meanwhile, the meteorological phenomenon also had its aftershock in France, where fire ravaged hundreds of hectares. The municipality of Lanka, about 40 kilometers south of Bordeaux, 200 hectares have burned since 4 p.m. local time in a complicated terrain and with swirling winds that make it difficult for the fire department to intervene. In Bangladesh, the death toll from the devastating flood rising to 118. According to the Health Service General Director, the 2 more bodies were recovered in the last 24 hours. The total number of deaths due to the floods caused by torrential rains reported 91 people drowned, 15 were struck by lightning, 2 died from snake bites, and 10 others from other reasons. According to local media, the total number of deaths has recorded between May 17 and July 30. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back. In Turkey, the Russian delegation presented a package of proposals for the export of Ukrainian grain across the Black Sea in the middle of negotiation between Moscow, Ankara, Kiev, and the EU. The Russian Defense Minister spokesman Igor Konashenko said a proposal was submitted to Turkey, Ukraine, and the United Nations in order to solve the problem without delay. In this regard, Konashenkov points out that in case of consensus, Istanbul and United Nations will supervise the implementation of the agreed mechanism. Moscow wants to control and inspect ships leaving a port in order to rule out arms smuggling and prevent provocations by Kiev, while Ukraine refuses to clear the port. The Brazilian government has confirmed that it plans to buy as much diesel as possible from Russia at a time when it is facing refining problems. Brazilian Foreign Minister Carlos Alberto Franco said on Tuesday Russia is a strategic partner of Brazil, which depends to a great extent on the export of fertilizer from Russia. During a visit to the United Nations organization, the Brazilian Foreign Minister confirmed that Brazil is looking for safe and reliable suppliers of diesel, since the South American country has problems with refining. In turn, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro also stated on Monday that he has almost closed an agreement to buy cheaper diesel from Russia. The U.S. government announced on Wednesday that inflation rose to 9.1% in June and remains the highest in 4 years. According to the report, consumer prices accelerated in the last months as gasoline and food costs remains elevated, resulting in the largest annual increase in inflation in 4 decades. The data indicates that the U.S. Federal Reserve will likely have to maintain the monetary policy of rate hikes and bond sales without any possibility of slowing. Liquidity restrictions could continue to affect the stock market, as well as threaten consumer spending and corporate profitable, making the agency's goal of lower inflation more difficult. Former White House Security Advisor John Bolton confessed on Tuesday to have helped to plan a coup d'etat in different countries. During a televised interview in which he referred to Donald Trump's responsibility in an attack in the Capitol, the U.S. diplomat affirmed that overthrowing a government is a lot of work.
On our democracy. It's Donald Trump looking out for Donald Trump. It's a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence.
I don't know that I agree with you. To be fair, with all due respect, one doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup.
I disagree with that. As somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat, not here, but other places, it takes a lot of work, and that's not what he did. It was just stumbling around from one idea to another. Ultimately, he did unleash the rioters at the Capitol. As to that, there's no doubt. But not to overthrow the Constitution, to buy more time to throw the matter back to the states to try and redo the issue.
British Conservative MPs held the first of a round of vote on Wednesday to elect the politician who will replace Boris Johnson as Tory leader and British Prime Minister. 6 candidates maintain in the running to replace UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson after winning the first round of voting. The Conservative Party announced with Finance Minister Naheem Sahawi and former Foreign Minister Jeremy Hunt eliminated. Rishi Sunak, who quit as a finance minister last week to trigger Johnson's downfall, leads the pack with the support of 88 Tory MPs, followed by Penny Dimad on 67, who polling shows is the most popular with a party membership that will ultimately decide the rate. The decision within the governing party follows the blocking of the Labour Party's initiative, the main opposition bloc for a non-confidence motion against Johnson's, which if it has succeeded, will have meant a new call for elections. British troops killed thousands of civilians in suspicious circumstances during a 6-month military operation in Afghanistan, according to BBC. Investigation indicates that those who were false positive. According to recently released military reports, a British Special Air Service squadron allegedly killed at least 54 unarmed people between 2010 and 2011 in the Central Asian country. The killings were alleged carried out as part of a kill or capture mission to arrest Taliban commanders. According to the sources cited, the military placed AK-47 rifles at the scenes to justify the killings of unarmed men and thus achieve a higher number of enemy killed. Greek authorities are examining the fire that broke out early on Wednesday morning at the headquarters of the Daily Royal News. The building is to be found north of Athens in the city of Marousi, and the fire has left serious material damages, while witnesses report that explosions were heard. It should be noted that an explosive device was found in a staircase outside the building between the ground floor and the first floor. The fire brigade said that the fire is under control and the anti-terrorist service has also been informed of the situation. On the other hand, the information of the royal group says that this could have been due to a hunger strike of the anarchist prisoners Yanis Michaelidis. The World Health Organization registered on Tuesday nearly 9,200 confirmed cases of monkeypox in 63 countries around the world. According to the Director General of the International Organization, Tedros Adhanom, several of the infections linked to the disease have not shown the clinical symptoms typically described for monkeypox. Meanwhile, he points out that the atypical characteristics described include the presentation of only a few or even a single source that starts in the genital or perineal area and do not extend beyond there. The health authorities specified that in view of the situation, an emergency committee will be convened next week to modify the strategy to deal with monkeypox and, if necessary, to declare it a health problem of international concern. We have more news coming up after this final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was appointed acting president following President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's escape to foreign country. Following his absence in the country, President Rajapaksa told that he appointed their Prime Minister to serve as president according to the constitution. Planetary leader Mahinda Yapa announced on Wednesday in a brief televised statement. The announcement coincides with the effective date of the resignation of Rajapaksa, who fled the country on Wednesday morning. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka police fired tear gas at thousands of protesters gathering in front of the office of the Prime Minister. The demonstrators defended tear gas, water cannons, and a state of emergency to storm the Prime Minister's office on Wednesday after the President flew overseas with a crown demanding both men step down in the face of an economic crisis. The state of emergency grants wider powers to the army and police, which declared an immediate curfew in the western province, which includes Colombo. Palestinian activists and organizations will hold a massive march next Thursday against Joe Biden's visit to the occupied West Bank. Hundreds of Palestinians are expected to demonstrate in Al-Manara Square in the city of Ramallah to express their reaction of the humiliation policies of the U.S. president towards the Palestinian questions. Demonstrators will also announce Washington's support to the Israeli-occupied regime. President Joe Biden arrived in Tel Aviv this Wednesday afternoon local time aimed at a heavy police deployment. President Biden will meet with the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in the land on Thursday.
Biden's main objective in the region is to try to form a military coalition that will serve the interests of a Zionist regime and not at all the interests of the Arab countries or any other country. Biden's visit seeks to confirm the position of the Israelis in the region.
teleSUR English continues to grow. It now reaches Europe, and you can order it from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on a screen are in place since July 1st, and quite soon the changes will be implemented for the signal in the Middle East and Africa. No more than ever, the world connects to us, and our stories are being heard all around the globe. This is News Multiplatform will continue providing trustful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. Oh, that's the story. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For teleSUR English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.